I can't believe I'm sharing this online, but oh my God, I've honestly shared worse over the time. I've probably had more things in my mouth than your grandma has had hot dinners, and that is saying something. Hi guys, I'm Katy Bampton, and in this video, I'm gonna share why I stopped going down on men. But just before that, you're probably wondering how and why I stopped going down on men, but what made me stop that or even get that in the first place. I was in the adult industry. I've got no shame, I've got no judgment. I wouldn't say I'm proud and gloating, but I can look back at that chapter of my life and be like, wow, what an experience. An experience that taught me so much about myself. An experience that made me who I am today. An experience that really opened up my communication skills to get what I want in the bedroom and never, ever, ever put myself at mercy of a man ever again. Because I spent so many times down on my knees and making him hard, and I can tell you, I've paid my bills, guys, okay? I think I'm done in that department. Throughout this video, generally the terminology that I'm going to be using, you're gonna understand, but there may be a word in there is a fluffer. So I'm just gonna explain what a fluffer is. A fluffer is someone in the adult industry who is behind the camera off set, which is a female generally on her knees making him hard. Because you think about it, in the adult industry, the adult videos that we watch, it's not just that 15-minute video. There is the beforehand, there is the during when the camera is not rolling, and there is the after. And how do you make an adult video? Well, you need this to be working. And generally, the men will get turned on because of the woman. I remember in the US, it's actually the male's responsibility predominantly to make himself hard. It doesn't always come to the fluffer and to the women. There was one time I was going down on a man and I was like, Katy, how on earth did we end up here? And for a bit of a backstory, guys, I actually used to be a kindergarten teacher. I was a kindergarten teacher. I was babysitting the kids. The parents came home one night and they were like, Katy, we do this thing called swinging. They've been together, I think it was 12, 15 years. So, you know, they've been in quite a routine monogamous relationship and it was time for them to have some fun. And they were like, Katy, you want to come to the swingers party with us? And I'm like, sure, guys. And, you know, I was curious. I was cute. It was like, ooh, like there was a lot of fun in that moment. And before you knew it, I was having my first sevensome with the parents of the child that I was babysitting. That moment transformed my life, and from on then, through my time going into the adult industry, yes, I have had over 100 lovers and 100 things in my mouth. So I'm pretty well equipped with my hands and my mouth, and I'm gonna keep this fun, but I'm also gonna add a lot of tips and fun in there that you can use on your man tonight to make him go wild. So coming back to the fluffer, when I was making videos, generally at the start of my time in the adult industry, it was all with friends. We were friends, we were swingers, we were having fun. I was in a married, committed relationship, and we were exchanging with other married couples, with other swingers, with other females. And it was all very consensual and it was a lot of fun. However, in the second year, that's when it kind of like turned the page and went into full production. And this is when I was probably showing up in a way that wasn't authentic to myself, that didn't feel right. However, I just did it and went along with it. You know, it's kind of what I did until I got to the point where I was like, I cannot do this anymore. From my personal experience, I feel there's a lot of difference between myself who joined the adult industry because I kind of married that lifestyle and all my friends were around it and we were swingers anyway that did videos on OnlyFans, to actually choosing myself as like, oh, I want to go and be an adult star. Like I never really had that desire. It was part of the natural evolution through my relationship, through swinging, that opened me up into that step. Because remember guys, I was a kindergarten teacher a couple of months before. Even to this day, yes, there was probably 3 or 4 experiences that I had in that whole world just to kind of do it, where the pleasure wasn't really my focus. I can hold my hand up, look, I've done it, I've healed from that, I've moved on through, but the majority of the rest of the 2 years was intentionally because I wanted to do this. I was in a space to be able to communicate. I was in a space to own my boundaries. I was in a space to be like, okay, I want to be with you, but I don't want to be with you. And this was really healthy for me. From someone who had a lot of unconsensual experiences in my younger years, little did I know how transformative my chapter in the adult industry was going to be, because it was actually really healing. From someone who was with men, you know, in my 18, 20s was just kind of forced into intercourse, was forced into having something in my mouth, was not wet, just dry, things being shoved in there with friction and contraction. Like my first experience of sexual experiences and intimacy wasn't healthy. And the time that I had in the adult industry really allowed me to understand what feels good for my body, what I'm okay with, and what I'm not okay with. Yes, there can be a lot of darkness and shadows around the adult industry, and that will be in another video. But this one, I just want to keep it fun, light, and give you guys some tools and girls for tonight. So if you're a man watching this video, remember to send it to your partner so she's gonna learn from it, okay? All right, so that's kind of a bit of a how I ended up in the adult industry and then why I stopped. I was going down on a man and I just started gagging and my body like kind of switched off and I became really numb and disconnected. This had been starting probably the last couple of months before I actually left the industry. But this one day I felt it in my body, like I felt like a heavy rock. It felt like this is not okay. This is not comfortable for me. I'm not having my pleasure. I just don't want to be here anymore. I can't say, look, I'm not shaming anyone's doodles down there, but I can't say it was the most cleanliest or enjoyable experience that I've had. So men, if you're watching this, you want to remember that you're clean before you're putting anything into a woman's mouth. Up until then, the experiences were generally healthy, but this moment I was gagging. This was a sign from my body. It was a sign for like, Katy, this is enough. And I know there are so many women out there that are forced to go down on their partner. 70% of women go down on their partner just to make him get off. 1 in 4 women don't actually like going down on men, but they do it for him because they feel forced. This is an energy that is not okay in your relationship or for yourself. I knew in that moment that my body didn't want this anymore, and I chose to move out of that space. And this is such a big takeaway for you in your relationship. Do you feel sexually satisfied? Are you safe emotionally and physically in your relationship? Do you enjoy the pleasure that you're having? Or do you feel numb? Do you feel disconnected? Do you feel like your body is like a rock? And do you feel heavy because you're being forced? This is not healthy. This is a sign that we need to build your communication skills. You need to build your boundaries. You need to have your own self-love and self-worth, because you physically being forced in any type of physical interaction in the bedroom or, in the night park is not healthy, and you have to take responsibility for your own self, just as I did. I don't only just share my story for the entertainment factor, guys. I'm a voice for women. I'm a voice here for those who are too shy to speak up. I'm a voice for those who hide behind closed doors because they are afraid to say no to their partner. They are afraid to even come into the bedroom thinking what he is going to do. It is not normal for him to be lying there hard, calling you in, forcing you in, putting your mouth around his doodle and getting him off. I have been there. This situation was a little bit different. So you can see even if in your relationship this is not healthy, we need to talk about this, we need a change. Whereas when I was in the adult industry, there was a lot of communication. There was a lot of conversation around what is okay and what is not okay. And generally, 9.5 times out of 10, I can hold my hand up and say every experience that I had was in a healthy way. And even within that, if I didn't feel good, if I didn't feel healthy, I would speak up. I do have ADHD, so having so many bodily fluids and, the saliva in my mouth was not a good time for me. It did not turn me on. And so if I was getting into a moment where there was too much saliva, too much lube, too much going on, I would communicate that. And I would say, guys, I don't really feel comfortable right now. I just need to take a break. But I was able to speak up and communicate what I was not feeling okay with, because I've got that skill within myself, but not everyone does. If you're a woman watching this video and you're thinking, oh my God, Katy, I feel like you're speaking to me right now, there is a high chance of that. Remember, I said 70% of women go down on their men just to please him. And 1 in 4 do not like giving oral, but they do it because they feel forced. And this is where inside the School of Sensuality, I help you build an unstoppable relationship with yourself, to know your boundaries, to know your limits, to know what you're okay with, and to know how to say no if you really don't feel comfortable. I will pop those links below for the School of Sensuality, and I hope to see you inside. And girls, also in the School of Sensuality, you're gonna find a really yummy video. That is a guided tutorial and exercise of me showing you how to make him go wild with your mouth in the bedroom. So if you are wanting to give your partner something extra special tonight, that is where you need to go and find that. So that last moment I was going down on a man and I was completely gagging, I just knew within myself that this was enough. That was probably the turning point in me leaving the adult industry, and I actually went celibate for a whole year after that. And during that process and coming out the other side, now going down on a man is so intimate for me. Some men that I have interacted with, like let's say we've just been dating, we've just been connecting, they have assumed that I am automatically going to go down on them. They don't always know about my past. Some of them I tell, some of them I don't. You know, I like to keep it a little bit fun. And when I use my voice and I say, okay, I'm not feeling comfortable with that, one of them was actually so shocked and kind of he really felt rejected. And I openly had that conversation. I was like, I don't feel comfortable right now. Going down on a man is really intimate for me, and that is not something I'm willing to give to someone that I've just met. And then afterwards, he understood. And then from obviously that was my first experience, from on, when I've come to interact with males again, they understand how I have experienced going down on men in my past through the adult industry, and there is a lot of respect there as well. But the best thing is, guys, I am also incredibly good with my hands. So, you know, they are still getting their pleasure at the end of the day. But this was my choice, and this was my desire and my boundary, that I didn't want to go down on men because it is such an intimate experience. You know, after I've had over 100 things in my mouth throughout my life, and now coming into this next chapter, it's just not something that I want to do every day of the week. You know, it's just like not giving a hug. I'm not going to give that to everyone. It's really a moment that is only there when I connect intimately, emotionally, and really in a deep way with a partner. Because now where I'm at in my life, after obviously the life that I've lived, I don't believe that our body and the sexual connection, sexual intimacy is meant to be shared with everyone. We, especially as women, are so conditioned to perform in the bedroom, to show up, to please the man. And this is kind of where it comes into what I spoke about the fluffer at the beginning. The fluffer in the adult industry, she's not there for her pleasure unless she really loves going down on men, but it's literally there to get the job done. And whereas in your relationship, if you just feel that you are there just to get the job done, you need to be having conversations with him, because that's not fair. You need to feel that your pleasure is also being activated. You know, we want to have balance throughout the sexual intimacy and the adult playtime in the bedroom, but if you are constantly getting this hard, putting it in there and getting him off, whose fun is that? Definitely not yours. It felt really healthy within myself to move forward in this path of a way of healthy relating and interacting with people. I had an experience once where I was going down on the man and I just felt icky and sticky. Yes, this was in the adult industry. And as I'm a woman, I'm very intuitive and I listen to my body. You know, I'm not someone who lives up in my head. I know how to feel and I let my body guide me. And in this experience, I was going down on this man and I just felt so anxious and a bit off, you know, like as if someone was really off. And afterwards, we had the conversation that not long previously, he had broken up with his partner. And so, you know, going with another woman and experience this in the adult industry, there was just a lot of things to navigate. And he felt really anxious and just really uncomfortable. And I said to him, I was just like, well, wouldn't you rather help yourself and sort yourself out first before you're involving yourself in other people? Because I am picking up your energy. And this happens with so many women. Women pick up energies, just like men do as well, but we can pick up the energies, and this energy can stay in our system for a long period of time. So imagine if you're interacting in an unhealthy way, how much energy you're holding on to from all these past sexual partners that you've had. Is this really healthy? And so you can just imagine, from all the experiences I've had, my mouth was conditioned to perform. I was conditioned to be on my knees the majority of the time and just show up with something in my mouth. It became very routine-based. It became very robotic. In a way, I'm like, is this healthy and is this what I want? And obviously I chose not. But now we're going to come into the juice, girls, because the amount of experience that I've had with things in my hands and things in my mouth, I've learned obviously a lot over time. And now I'm going to give you 3 tips that's really going to help you blow his mind when you're going down on him this evening.